gyms.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I remember when it was going in, it was a pretty big deal.
Not bad. No, pretty good price.
Bad exercise? Bad exercise is bad.
Some really strong research out there that indicates a moderate amount of exercise will help delay cognitive decline as one ages. It's one of the single greatest things you can do to stay sharp longer.
What if you weren't sharp to begin with?
Even more reason to
Because nobody can tell.
hold on to what you got.
Check.
I think he's always been that way.
Yeah.
Hey, David. Hey, David, how you doing? Good. Call the meeting to order. Do we have an invocation?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Sister Christina, hi.
Hi.
Loving God, we thank you for all of your abundance and all that you put forward in this wonderful town of Concordia. Please bless our neighbors in Missouri and Kansas and in Nebraska who are having some challenges right now. May God bless us all. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pulled the switcheroonie.
I thought maybe Kansas succeeded.
Succeeded in seceding? I just looked at the back of your head. I looked through it.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, if I have a hard time reading and stuff, I just had cataract surgery about 5 hours ago in my right eye, so the lights are kind of getting to me. But anyway, do we have approval of the agenda? Do we have any changes for the agenda? No changes. Okay, do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
We have a motion from Christie, second from Sam. Proclamations, recognitions, and
Got
presentations.
a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. For proclamations, Cloud County Health Center presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Just as a quick introduction, my name is Dave Garnis. I'm the administrator at Cloud County Health Center. I wanted to come today just kind of give you an update of some of the things that have gone on the last year at Cloud County Health Center, and also to talk to you a little bit about the master facility plan. Just as a little brief history, for those of you who don't know, Cloud County Health Center entered into an operating agreement with Salina Regional Health Center in May of 2016. So we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary under that relationship. I know that there's always, God bless Facebook, there's always those misconceptions out there in regards to this relationship. It has, again, it's an operating agreement. It's not an ownership agreement. It's not an ownership of the building. And I know that that is something that comes out on a pretty regular basis. Over the last 3 years, we've definitely seen it be a mutually beneficial relationship by bringing in expertise and being able to allow us to grow and to expand and have access to the physicians that we have access to. And we're very happy to have had that relationship. Again, Cloud County Health Center is Cloud County Health Center, Inc. It's a 501c3, community-owned. Not owned by the county, not owned by the city, but it's a community-owned organization. And I know that that's sometimes something that just confuses people in the community a little bit. So I wanted to just start off with that. One of the great things that we've been working on, really back into July, but really kicked it off in December, was our master facility plan. When I first came here in June or so or in April of last year, in June we started our budgeting process, and so we budgeted money to take a look at our existing building and to be able to do a full, well thought out master facility plan to lead us into the future. And so in December we kicked that off, and between June and December we took the opportunity to pick our partner, pick our firm that we wanted to work with. And so through our relationship with Salina Regional, we picked Trainer HL architecture firm. And Trainer is based out of, they have offices in Topeka and Lawrence and Kansas City, as well as in Colorado and other locations. And so we picked them because of their expertise in rural healthcare. As well, I've used them in other facilities and have a great deal of trust in them, and they've led me very well over the years. So we were able to work with them and Salina Regional and be able to get some economies of scale to allow us to do the master facility plan process under budget, or at budget. As well, what was the expected outcomes that we wanted out of the master facility plan? We wanted to do an extensive evaluation of the existing building by both architecture and engineering firms, and look at the feasibility of remodeling the existing structure, as well as looking at new structure if that's the direction that this study took us. We wanted it to have a very statistically based evaluation of the existing business that we have today, to help determine the correct sizing of the departments and to make sure that we're right sized. We don't want to be too big, don't want to be too small, but we want to be able to be the right size for what we do now, and then also to look into the future as to what we'll be doing. Also, part of the outcomes was that we wanted to have some sort of a block design, not detailed design, but block design to be able to help us walk through the process and determine that right size process. And that block design was put together, or is being put together, with input from our department heads, our medical staff, board members, as well as a community group that we put together of 14 individuals that has a broad demographic overlay of the community, from mothers with preschool age kids, mothers with kids in high school, people representation from the community college, so on and so forth. So we put a lot of thought into the community group that we put together to help give us a good demographic overview of the community. Through this process, we've evaluated not only our existing building, but we've also evaluated in the event that it goes to a new building, 2 different building sites. And so we've done those evaluations as well. And then one of the big things, of course, the punchline that everybody wants to know, not how it looks, not all those things, is how much is it going to cost, and how are we going to pay for it? And that's the big question through this whole process. So there's been kind of 3 phases that we've gone through. Phase 1 was in December, and that was the meeting with all of the department heads, looking at the existing size, the existing needs, looking at our statistics, how many patients we see in each department and that type of thing. So that was kind of the data gathering process. Phase 2 was what I would say is more of phase 1, the data gathering, but also it was with our community group and board and medical staff, was what we would call a gaming session. So basically there was 4 tables, and this whole group of about 25 or 30 people were given cutout blocks that represented the appropriate sizes or the beginning sizes of each department, laid out on a table, and it was basically design a hospital. In your perfect world, design a hospital with these blocks, so that we get input from all of the groups about adjacencies. When you walk in the door, what's the first thing you want to see? Where do you want the clinic? How far do you want the lab from the clinic, or x-ray from the clinic? And so we built those, and through that gaming process with input from all of our groups. The interesting thing about that is, out of 4 different groups, they all designed virtually the same building. It was pretty incredible to watch that process and to see how people got really involved in the thought processes that went through all of this. Phase 3 just happened last week, and that was a preliminary, I'll call it a preliminary final report to the community members and board and medical staff on the size, block diagram, layout, possible locations. What it did not have at this last meeting was kind of the engineering report, the evaluation of the existing building, costs and those types of things. So again, we're still waiting on that final piece of it. So the final report is due the first week in April. At that point in time, we'll be hopefully rolling out kind of the final so that everybody can see piece to not only the staff, but also to media and then out into the community. So in the first week of April or so is when we will be starting to roll that out. The punchline of the cost estimate will not be rolled out at that point in time because we will be continuing to work on that cost estimate. And really we're asking for a couple of months from the community to say how much is it going to cost and what are our options for being able to finance it, how do you pay for it, and be able to have a well thought out plan before we just throw out a number and people get upset or go, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. So we want to be able to roll it out in a timely process, which we're looking at possibility of June, so that we can have time to work with entities and have a plan for people so that they understand, you know, what we would be looking at, what we would be asking for. So that's kind of the master facility plan process that we've been going through, and we're excited that the process is coming to an end, and we're looking forward to the final results. As far as just kind of an update real quickly about things that have been going on in the last year and some of our accomplishments. We started a walk-in clinic, which I think is, well, not I think, I know has been a huge request from the community. We started that July 1st of this last year. In July, we started off with 70 walk-in visits, and in February of this year, we hit our all-time high in a 28-day month of 277 walk-in visits. We are seeing on average of 20 to 25 new patients that have never been in our building before coming into our through our walk-in clinic, and we've received a substantial amount of appreciation and good reviews from our walk-in clinic from people that have approached me. We also entered into a agreement with the Cloud County Community College to be their student health. They lost their physician assistant. I don't know if it was through retirement, but they lost their physician assistant. And so we've entered into agreement with them to provide their student health services, and that so far has been a great experience, I think, for all of us, and we're excited to hopefully be able to continue that into the future. We started a cosmetic service line with Shauna Huggins, and we've increased our specialty clinic offerings dramatically over the last year. In the last year, we've rolled out rheumatology twice a month, and we're seeing between 15 and we're seeing approximately 30 people on up to 32, 35 a month, and that's been a great addition. We've rolled out podiatry services, and will be doing podiatry surgeries such as bunionectomies and those types of things. We were lucky enough to be able to offer dermatology, and we offer dermatology 1 day a week with Dr. Schaefer's group out of Salina, and that I think people are most excited about that. Apparently, it's a huge demand, and so we're excited to be able to offer that. We've been able to offer pediatric neurology, and we will be looking at coming up in August offering another option for OBGYN coming into our building. Again, that will be coming in, doing visits, and making it so people don't have to travel down the road to get their prenatal care. We've seen a growth of about 20% in our physical therapy services. And so in January, I hired a new physical therapist, so that gives us 4 physical therapists and 2 physical therapy assistants because of the growth we've seen. And so we're proud to be able to offer that number of services, or that number of therapists. I think it was back in September, October, we started offering pain management services. And so we're doing facet injections, ESIs, ESIs, epidural steroid injections, and we're doing that under fluoroscopy. So it's radiology guided, so it's very specific, and that's the gold standard within the industry. We're doing Botox injections for migraine control, and some of those types of things, and we've seen that start bursting at the seams, and so we're really excited about that. We've stepped up our wound care clinic, which we've had for in excess of 10 years. But we have Leigh Simpson, who's one of our physician assistants, is now manning the wound care clinic 1 day a week, and we see patients 3 days a week. We have, in the last 2 months, seen that double in size just that quickly. So they're very excited to see those numbers growing as quick as they have. And one of the other things that we're working on, and we're almost there, is to have consistent ER coverage on the weekends. So those people who come in will see 1 of 2 people every weekend, and it's not a bunch of different people from outside the community, but rather it's the same people. Again, that builds consistency for the physicians that are backing up those mid-level providers. It builds continuity in care, so that when a patient comes into the ER, that communication back and forth to that provider is there for the future, any future visits. And we want to be able to provide, ER care at a high quality, and also in a customer service manner. So we're excited to be, we're almost there, and have an offer out for my last position. So hopefully we'll be able to make that an end run and be done with that. And then in the next year, a couple of things that we're working on. We do have a need for another mid-level provider that works in the clinic and in the community full-time. Chantel Niles has taken a different position within Salina Regional. She has taken a day job, had a new baby, and having to do overnight ER call was hard on her. So she's taken a different position, so we're recruiting on that. And then also we're looking at, hopefully in June time period, that we'll be having our survey to be trauma 4 designated. And again, I think that our goal there is to try to bring that level of credibility and that level of service to the community so that people know that we live up to a certain expectation that's defined by the state of Kansas. So that's a lot to be done in a year, and I think we've had a pretty good year as far as being able to make some strides, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you would like. Did I meet my time period, by the way?
I think you're all right.
All right.
You, I think previously you said, David, that the walk-in clinic was mostly all additional. It wasn't taking away from any other facet of your business. Is that true?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think in all reality, what it's doing is it's just giving the people the opportunity to not have to make an appointment. And we live in a society of fairly instant gratification, whether it's on your cell phone and being able to order something through Amazon or whatever. And we have that ability now. So if they're in town, hey, you know what, I've got a scratchy throat, earache, I'm just going to walk in.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
And that's Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
And you can walk in at 5:59 and we'll see you.
Okay. Okay. Any
I
other-
like your game plan, Dan. I like the approach.
And we're just trying, excuse me, Sammy got me all choked up.
Yeah, I do that to people.
We're trying to be very methodical about it as far as the building, trying to be very methodical, do the right things for the right reason, and have it be very, very well thought out.
Yeah.
We don't want to just throw it up against the wall and see what sticks, so.
What I like about the part, though, you're gonna be transparent to the public and not just hit them with a,
Correct. Yeah. And we want it to be well thought out, so that's why the cost estimates will come a little later this summer. But we want to do our due diligence and our work on it, because the minute you throw out a number, people will assume the worst, oh, this is how it's going to be paid for, or whatever, and we want to have a plan to give people.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Cloud County Tourism Year-End Review.
I don't have my whistle and I'm not gonna sing.
Before you get started, I have a comment to make.
Yes,
And I should have told you a long time ago, but several, I don't know, it's this past fall, I believe it was. My aunt down in Emporia has a real good friend who used to live there for a long time, and then I think she moved down to Eureka. And she told my aunt that they had, there was a bus full came up here and spent the day and had lunch at the mother house and went everywhere, and everybody had a wonderful time, and everything went really well, and people on the way back are saying, when are we gonna, we wanna come back. So they really enjoyed it, and I, appreciate what your part in that, because they had a great time.
Well, all I can say is I'm not surprised.
I'm not
But
either.
thank you very much for saying that,
You're
because
very humble.
Marion, my name is Susie Haver, and I'm Director of Cloud County Tourism, and Marion Condrey is the best person to work with. And she is Director of Tours and everything else that needs to be done. She doesn't, however, have a key to the city.
You keep that with you all the time?
Well, yes, pretty much. So, but so far I haven't found a single key lock that will open, but it will open a bottle. That's what it's really, it is what it's really. Yeah. Well, we thought that last year, I think was the first year we came to talk to you, because if you don't tell people what it is you do, they don't know. So I'm going to quickly, you've got I'm not going to go through everything, but our purpose is to plan group tours, assist with meetings and conferences, make arrangements for individual tours, answer phone calls, requesting all kinds of information, keeping up to date on social media, welcoming visitors to the Travel Information Center, and marketing Cloud County. We are governed by a committee that's appointed by the Cloud County Commissioners. Our committee members include Betsy Reed with Kansas Creek Inn, Jane Wallmeyer representing the Sisters of St. Joseph, Miranda Fry with Holiday Inn Express and Suites, Scott Seifert with the Clyde Chamber, Matt Farmer with Jamestown Wildlife Area, John Paul Bro with the Brown Grand Theater, Lyle Pounds representing the Cloud County Historical Society Museum, Sharon Dykes representing Super 8, Roberta Lowry for the National Orphan Train Museum, and Janine Brantford for the Clyde Hotel. We have a 5% transient guest tax is collected in Cloud County, and that's entirely how we're funded. It's divvied out quarterly, and it all goes through the county. We have a gift shop in our Tourism Information Center, and you'd think, now how much could we possibly sell? We have items that are from the attractions, we have items that are on commission we're trying to get unusual Kansas items or handmade items, and some things that we purchase. And believe it or not, last year we sold more than $12,000 worth of stuff. We give all the money back to the attractions if it's their product, but otherwise we generate income and can keep that. We only pay 20% of the commissioned ones, so they're getting, the people who have that item are getting lots back. We're just happy to have a variety of things for people to come in. And for example, you may have noticed yesterday morning at 9:15, there was a tour bus, a motor coach bus. A motor coach was in front of our building. And it was Heritage Tours. They're from Yoder, and they know that we have excellent restrooms. And so they were on their way to Nebraska to watch the Sandhill Cranes. And so they stopped to go to the restroom, because we have really good restrooms, and we've developed this relationship with Angie, who runs Heritage Tours. So we had them for a half hour, and that's 50 people off the bus, in the building, going to the 5 bathrooms, having coffee and donut holes, and purchasing. Then today, at 3:30, they came back from Nebraska, and they were there again for 30 minutes to go to the bathroom. And this time they had Girl Scout cookies and coffee. And in all of that, that's not very much time. They spent over $160 in our gift shop. And we do pay sales tax. So that, it all adds up. There are some power shoppers. The total group tours for 2018 included 43. We consider group tours anything that we make the arrangements for and we go with that group when they come in, whether it's a group of 15 or whether it's a group of 50. We go with them, and I think that's the difference in what we offer and why your friend said that was a memorable experience here, is because it gives us time to get to know them, kid them, take care of any issue that might come up, and leaves them with good feelings about being here. So we had 43 of those last year, and that included 936 visitors. In 2017, there were 30. In 2016, 38. 2015, we had 43 tours, but only 711 visitors. So I think that is a really good number to have visit our community. Then we keep track of small group tours. These are people who come into the Travel Information Center and maybe say, oh, we want to go to the orphan train, we want to go to the mother house. It's just somebody who stopped in because we're a Travel Information Center. So we often make arrangements, and we started keeping track of that also. And we ask them all kinds of questions like, did you spend the night? All kinds. And we had 113 of those small tours. Now, we didn't go with them. They came in, they asked questions, and we set things up for them. So we didn't, that's the difference in that. We didn't go with them. But that was 415 visitors generating 68 overnight stays. So they're spending dollars here, spending much more time here. We've discovered that people who come for group tours, then if they can still drive, come back and spend more time and more dollars here. We are also a travel information center for the state. We are one of 22 travel information centers, community travel information centers. It doesn't mean we get any funds from the state. It just means we get that clout, actually, that we're listed. We have to be open 6 days a week. We're open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Saturday, and lots of times, other times in between. We have a very efficient, technical way of keeping track of everybody who comes into our office. We have a clipboard, and we have a lined pad. And we write down on that pad if the person, we don't count the mailman, but everybody else who comes in. We write down if they're from Kansas, if they're out of state, or if they're international visitors. So this number of 5,312 is very specific. I mean, it's darn close. That was 4,342 from Kansas, 1,016 from the U.S., and 28 international. Then we send that information to the state at the end of each month so they can compile that. But that's a lot of people in and out of there. And I would guarantee that of that 5,312, I'd say all but maybe 10 we talk to. You know, we acknowledge them in there. It's possible that while we were given a tour or something, somebody might have come in to go to the bathroom and didn't stay long enough afterwards for us to say something. But otherwise, I mean, that's a lot of visiting, and it makes a lot of difference to visitors. We also do grants. We have for events or for attraction development. It's not a lot of money, but it helps with like Fall Fest or Clyde Watermelon Festival or the car show or National Orphan Train, and that's all listed there too. I work full-time, Marion works part-time, although she works a lot of hours, and Jory Galise also helps with our social media. We have upcoming event in 2020 that I just want to make you aware of. Oh, Marion, would you hand these out to the guys and to the distinguished commissioners, anybody else who wanted to? You know, we had prairie plowing days here in 2016, and thousands of people came out in the mud to watch steam engines plow.
Thank you.
Well, in 2020, August 28th through the 30th, the Historical Construction Equipment Association is having their conference, and it's the longest title here. It's never been, it was in Seward, Nebraska in 2000. Otherwise, it's been back east or in Canada. And so because of prairie plowing days and those connections, the guys, Kurt Core, Brad Smith, and Dane Barkley, have made this happen, and they're expecting 8 to 10 to 15,000 people to come. Wow. and it'll be out at Kurt Core's farm. And it will not only be using those historical construction equipment where they'll be digging ditches and cleaning out draws and building roads, but it'll also have the Prairie Plowing Days part of it too. It is an admission. Prairie Plowing Days was free, but this one is an admission thing. And it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're expecting a lot of folks be talking about tractors and construction equipment. So just so you'll be on the up and up on that. And in 2021, Concordia turns 150. So there'll be some celebration going on for that too. Do you have any questions? I expect that this year we'll have as many tours as we did last year. I see no reason. The National Orphan Train Museum is the single biggest draw, and then POW Camp Concordia is the second. And if you can get them here for that, then you can get them here to stay even longer.
You can get them here to use the restroom, you got them.
I mean, if you've got clean restrooms, it makes a huge
That's right,
difference.
you got them.
It does.
You do, you have them. Because if
I'm
you're traveling, you
curious.
know that's very important.
Susie, do you know, has there been any estimate as far as hotel rooms for this?
Well,
That's a
there will be
huge number
so,
of-
we will, I'd say a 50-mile radius around us will have lots of lodging during that week of the event in 2020. Because we're working with Salina and Belleville and Beloit, Clay Center, because that's more people than,
Right,
that's a lot of people.
accommodate that many people.
But it's gonna be fine. So watch out. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Your enthusiasm.
And I've always got it with me.
We promise not to change the lock. Okay, the next item is proclamation proclaiming March 2019 as the 17th Annual March for Meals Month. And was there anybody going to get up and visit about that? I'll give it a go. Can I have someone else read it? Please? You want to read it? Well, there we go. Appreciate it.
Whereas on March 22nd, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965 and established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older. And whereas Meals on Wheels America established the March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of the Older Americans Act and nutrition programs, both congregate and home delivered, and raise awareness about the escalating problem of senior hunger in America. And whereas the 2019 observance of March for Meals celebrates 17 years of providing an opportunity to support Meals on Wheels programs that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger and isolation. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs, both congregate and home delivered, have served our communities admirably for many years. And whereas volunteers for Meals on Wheels programs are the backbone of the program, they not only deliver nutritious meals to seniors and individuals with disabilities who are at significant risk of hunger and isolation, but also carrying concern and attention to their welfare. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs provide nutritious meals to seniors that help them maintain their health and independence, thereby preventing unnecessary falls, hospitalizations, and/or premature institutionalization. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs provide a powerful socialization opportunity for the millions of seniors who help combat loneliness and isolation. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs deserve recognition for the contributions they have made and will continue to make to local communities, our state, and our nation. Now therefore, he, Mark R. Matthew, Mayor of Concordia, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 2019 as the 17th Annual March for Meals Month, and urge every citizen to take this month to honor our Meals on Wheels programs, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. Our recognition of and involvement in the National 2019 March for Meals can enrich our entire community and help combat senior hunger and isolation in America. Dated this 20th day of March 2019.
Thanks, Joe.
Mayor Matthew, I forgot one thing that involves the city. We had a couple call from Colorado who were they were flying from Colorado to Kansas City via North Platte. And they wanted to fly here, they wanted to go to the Orphan Train Museum, they were spending the night, and they wanted to go to the POW in Concordia, but they said, we will have no wheels. I said, no problem, there is a courtesy car at the airport. You know that, yeah. And they said, oh, they'll never let us keep it out overnight, will they? But they did.
Great.
They were happy.
How many were there?
Two,
Just two?
yeah, they spent
Good.
the night,
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
yes.
Okay, now public comments. Any public comments? Okay. Action agendas, minutes for the February 20th and March 6th meetings. Do I have a motion to approve minutes of both those meetings?
So moved.
I have a motion by Sam. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Keaton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Appropriation ordinance number 4. Do I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve appropriations number 4.
Motion by Keaton to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sam. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Appropriation number 5, ordinance number 5. Do I have a motion for that ordinance?
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 5.
I have a motion from Christie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Keaton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ordinance 2019-3147, snow removal from sidewalks.
Mayor and Commissioners, as you know, we've had quite a bit of snow this winter, and that caused us to review one section in our code, which is 18-115, regarding removal of snow and ice from sidewalks. As we worked our way through that, we found several things that we felt like needed to be changed, the first of which was having an actual ordinance tied to this code language. As we researched back, we found that it has been in the code this way since at least 1949, but there's not a specific ordinance associated with it. We learned that if there's not a specific ordinance associated with something, then the police department cannot give tickets. So then that means that we have to follow our nuisance procedure to address this issue. As you know, our nuisance procedure can take anywhere from 30 to 40 days to get addressed, and hopefully we don't have snow on the ground for that long. That therefore renders this code section rather ineffective from an enforcement standpoint. Additionally, we noticed in there that right now the code language says that residents have 5 hours from the time the snow stops falling to remove their snow. In theory, this sounds like a good idea. We get the snow removed quickly. However, we know that in practicality, with many of our residents working or contracting out snow removal if they're unable to do it on their own, it's very difficult, especially with a large amount of snow that we've seen recently, to be able to get that done within 5 hours of snowfall. In fact, some of our own properties that we have to take care of, it takes a little longer than that. Staff is of the opinion that if we can't adhere to our own ordinances, how can we expect our residents to do the same? So therefore, we're proposing some new language. The new language that we are proposing takes the shape of a new ordinance, and that way we can effectively enforce this in a shorter time frame and issue tickets for violators. The other thing that allows us to do, we're proposing to have snow removal as soon as possible from the end of the snowfall, but within the next 24 hours. We think 24 hours is a much more reasonable time frame to ask people to remove the snow. And I think especially when we have heavier snowfalls, such as what we had this winter, I think people will understand that 24 hours makes a little more sense for folks too. We also have experienced and observed over the last several years a lot of people taking snow from their sidewalks and pushing it into the street after we've already cleared the streets. Or in one case that we were made aware of this winter, we had somebody clear the snow for somebody else, and they hauled that snow down the street and put it in front of somebody else's lot in the street. So what we're proposing also on this is that if we catch people in the act of doing that, we can ticket them as well. That creates, throwing snow into the street after the street's been cleared creates an unsafe situation for motorists. As far as the clearing snow from sidewalks, we believe that that should be enforced on a complaint-driven basis for a couple of reasons. One, we know what our workload is as a staff and the priorities that we need to really focus on. And complaint-driven basis makes sense, similar to what we do already with parking tickets, for example. We also know from our experience that the complaints often happen 2 to 3 days after a snow has stopped falling. So that's well beyond the 24 hours that were given within this ordinance. And we think that by the time we hit 2 or 3 days, if we have still 6 inches of snow on the ground as what we did this last year, then yes, it does warrant us to go out and issue a ticket. Now, under normal years, say the past 2 or 3 years, our snowfalls are anywhere from the 1 to 4 inch range, and then we typically go back up above that freezing mark. If somebody hasn't cleared their walk within 3 days, a lot of times that snow is melted by then, and it's a non-issue, and we don't get the complaints. So we really feel that this is a doable enforcement mechanism, a practically enforceable mechanism that we can use. As you work further down, we've also tried to simplify the procedure. We know that if we issue tickets and we don't have a specified fine associated with it, then the violator goes to court and they have to work through that process. That it then becomes more cumbersome. So we wanted to specify some finite fines to make it easier. And for the first couple violations at $25 and $50, the violator would not have to go to court for those. They simply come in, they pay the fine, and they walk away. We put within the previous 6 months because we know that our winters cross calendar years, and we think violations within a winter warrant escalated enforcement. But if somebody, for example, got a violation in 2016 and then in 2023 they got their second violation, we shouldn't escalate to $50 5 years later. That doesn't make any sense at all. So it's all within that 6 months. For the third violation within 6 months, we think that warrants a visit with the judge and some court cost associated with that. If we look down below, the section D and E in this ordinance, we pulled that straight from the existing ordinance that is related to grass clippings. And so it talks about the landlord-tenant relationship and how those are handled and who's responsible and who ends up getting the ticket. So both sections D and E come from that existing landscaping ordinance and grass clippings ordinance. As a result of working through this, we've decided too that enforcement of that grass clipping ordinance, probably the best way to enforce that is if we catch somebody in the act of blowing the grass clippings out, or again on a complaint basis, if we can really tie, it's obvious to us who's done it. Now, as with any ordinance and enforcement of any ordinance, we do believe that our staff has the professional discretion and the training necessary to understand with some empathy if maybe a ticket's not warranted, maybe it's a verbal warning that happens instead, maybe it's a conversation with them that happens instead. Our police officers do this all the time with their standard traffic ordinance. So we didn't put that in here because we believe, again, that's understood with professional discretion of trained folks. We've also been able to deputize some of our department heads, so we do have a couple of our department heads that are carrying ticket books now as well to help out with that level of enforcement. And again, that helps to spread the love a little bit with workload. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I just got one. This is probably a good year to ask it. Is 24 hours long enough for the city to clean off the sidewalks that we are responsible for? Because otherwise, then we're trying to we should put in a number for worst case that the city can do. Because I can tell you right now, the first thing that will happen, we hit someone at 24, and the city's been bound that they can't get to their own property. That's gonna come up, and we're gonna look awful foolish. And I've had that comment before on other snows when the plaza wasn't shoveled. And yet we were getting on people because their businesses, they didn't shovel in front of them. So we need to put something down that we can make before we stand there and enforce it.
I can understand where you're coming from, but I would disagree a little bit on that. I think that we should try to hit kind of the 90% of the time or most of the time that we can hit this rule. There's going to be anomalies, and I would think that this year for us would be considered an anomaly year, an excessive amount of snow. I think if you look back to past snow, say look at the last 5 years, and Ron, you can disagree if you want to and have that discussion, but I would think that in the last 5 years, the way the snows have fallen and the temperatures have happened, we've been able to clear our stuff within 24 hours in normal snows. This year, not so much because we had an excessive amount of snow and the frequency of it happened very close together.
And then I think that before we start issuing tickets, we make sure that we have our property cleaned first.
Right, and that's
Well,
the complaint
realizing
basis
the
piece of it.
realizing the expanse of the property that the city has to clear off.
That was the point I was gonna make.
Yeah, I think that 24 hours, I don't think we want to go past, need 24 hours.
Render it useless if we do.
Yeah, and, but I see where Sam's coming from, but I think that it needs to be understood that, hey, look, we're doing every street, every, you know, our sidewalks and all that stuff that we have, that we're responsible for. So we have a lot more to, even though we have several people working on it, we've got a lot more stuff to clean off. And I think, again, it's explainable and it's not gonna happen all the time, but I do understand where Sam's coming from, but I don't wanna stretch it past 24 hours.
The problem with that is, if someone's getting a ticket, you can explain it all you want. If they're getting a ticket and they're seeing the city violate, and they say, well, the laws aren't for you.
So governmental hypocrisy is probably one of the strongest areas where it sends I don't approve of it. I think though, where I think that it's prudent to have it within a 24-hour, which is an actionable time window. What I would imagine happening is if somebody has a significant enough volume of space that needs to be cleared and there's evidence of a good faith effort to be making strong headway in that, I think that's where the professional discretion can come in to see, hey, I see that you're working at this, I see that this is happening. I don't anticipate that would be a ticketable offense, because I think that the scale is different. I think a 24-hour window is sufficient for 99% of property owners or occupants to be able to sufficiently clear a drive or a walk that would not make this that much of an issue. I absolutely appreciate what you're saying, Sam, because I don't like holding people accountable to different sets of rules. But I think that if I have a driveway that hasn't been cleared after 24 hours, that's on me. Whereas the city's out working the streets, working what sidewalks they can. And if there's a concern that something hasn't been addressed, I think that's fair for a citizen to say, hey, what about this sidewalk here? And then for us to take action on that. But I think that there's enough professional discretion that would allow beyond that 24 window that would make this really a non-issue.
And I think we know, you know, when we have an epic snowstorm too. So we may be cutting people slack during, you know, those types of situations.
And
Now,
it-
that I
as a-
agree with.
Yeah.
I mean, like, put it this way, the snows that we've had, and we got it again and again, I mean, for some people, especially older people, getting it done in 24 hours,
Yeah.
they couldn't get it.
Well, and then you have
And-
high winds that
and-
come up and blow it back shut.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be discretion, and the city has the same problems.
Yeah.
But, you know, on the normal snow and normal years, outside of this year, and that's why I brought this year
Yeah.
out, I agree, the
Yeah.
24 hours works, but I think there has to be some discretion if we get into that point.
And I think, and there will be discretion used, and Amy and I have talked about this, and another thing we talked about was, I have a neighbor boys come over and scoop my sidewalks and stuff, but I don't call them, and they come up and they'll knock on the door, can I do it? And then they do about two or three snowstorms, and then all of a sudden we have a snowstorm, and it's like, they don't show up. Sometimes I'll get my snow blower out, sometimes I won't, but my concern is where it says that the people that are hired to do the snow can be fined. I can understand the grass thing, them discharging it down there. But that's where some more discretion's gonna have to come in, because I don't want them going after my neighbor, anybody going after my neighbor boy, but they're gonna have to come to me first anyway before they can do that.
Some of those hired out ones, what ends up happening is a lot of those, because we had talked about maybe even trying to build a list to assist people, because this is gonna be discretionary. So if there is, you know, if we do get 2 feet of snow, you know, everybody's gonna understand that 24-hour window, you know, might be not feasible for all of
Yeah.
us. Now, when it comes to some of the professionals that do snow removal, a lot of times they have to have, I think it's at least 2 inches before they'll go and remove it.
Yeah.
So discretionary, we'll have to work with them.
Yeah.
It's just something that we need to start enforcing it in some fashion, because, you know, in a lot of places, you know, it's not getting done, so.
And like I said, this is complaint basis, and the calls that we received this winter were 2 and 3 days after a snow. The next snow is coming. The people had made no attempt to clear their lots. There's 6 to 8 inches piled on their walk, and there's no effort made at all, and it's 2 to 3 days after. So that's the level of enforcement that we're talking
Right,
about here.
okay, I
Yeah.
agree, this needs to be done, I really do.
Yeah.
I just hope that there's some, like We get hit with 48 inches
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
something like that.
that's the professional discretion, and
I really just see this being
I
a-
do trust our staff fully.
I just see this being the foundation for being able to take action for some of the most egregious violators of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's some that never, I mean, look at,
Yeah.
there's some that never got taken care of this year.
Yes, I apologize for that, yeah. Under section C3, and Justin and I had talked about this, and I apologize, I missed putting this in there. We talked about the $100 plus court costs for the third and subsequent offenses. And that way the fines don't stop at the third offense. If somebody's violating this consistently and we have 6 snowstorms in a winter, they're gonna be in trouble with the judge. So are you guys okay with, I guess tonight then we'd ask for your approval of this ordinance as amended with section 18115C3 to read $100 plus court cost for the third and subsequent offense within the previous 6 months.
Makes sense.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2019-3147? Any more discussion?
I'd move to approve ordinance 2019-3147 as amended.
I have a motion from Chuck. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from Christie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Passed.
Thank you.
Purchase of police department server. Welcome, Chief.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Right off the bat, I'm requesting approval for purchase of computer equipment. Computers are not exactly in my world of expertise. I don't know if there's much of anything in my world of expertise. Anyway, about a year ago, a concern came up with how old our server was getting. And we do depend on it quite a bit as far as our reporting system. Interpol reporting system is on it. Before Bruce left, he did reserve some funds, because we planned this out. He reserved funds for the purchase. We've used Kirby quite a bit in maintaining it. It's had some hard drives replaced in it already and gone through some power outages. And anyway, he's very familiar with our system and what we use it for and everything. So we got some quotes from him, and we went online to kind of check around to see, you know, if we could find anything cheaper, and everything was very comparable to his prices. And if you have any computer-related questions, I'd probably have to refer you to Kirby, who is here this evening, so, but,
Kirby, as far as the protection of the unit from lightning and storms and everything else, is that gonna be kind of upgraded for us?
In the initial quote, actually, it just covers the base equipment for the server.
Mhm.
So we would have to go and evaluate whether the battery backup unit in place would need to be overhauled as well.
Mhm.
I think it actually was replaced a couple of years ago, so
Okay.
it may still be within.
I think that's something that need to evaluate and consider. And I keep hearing rumors that this year is gonna be an abnormally active year for possible tornadoes and storms. And I read through all this and I understand the need, and we're approaching obsolescence anyway, and we've got to be able to do the jobs better. And I too went through and looked at each individual component, and from my experience that I used to own part of a company that did a lot of this type of stuff and be part owner in it. And so I understand it. I just want to make sure that once we spend that money, that we're protecting it. So,
Get everything that you need to make sure that the longevity of the server lasts for the next 5 to 7 years.
yeah.
Is the current security with the systems they have now work with this?
So the current security systems that are in place, the antivirus and things like that,
Right.
we moved across onto it. It'll still be
Still
within. And the firewall unit was already replaced in the last year. So as far as the perimeter security, we're good there. So yeah, most everything, application-wise and everything will come across from the security aspect.
And I do want to add, even though I don't have expertise, I do have an in-house IT person, Devin Anderson, who has quite a bit of knowledge, so he does quite a bit of maintenance on our computers and stuff, so.
Any other questions for the chief or Kirby? If there's no further questions, I'd ask if, can I have a motion to approve for the purchase of the server from Lockett Technologies for $11,404?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion from Sam. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Keaton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Thank you.
Connecting link application.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a city connecting link improvement program. And what I'm applying for here is to repair the highway out by Walmart, the southbound lane, outside lane. And we'll actually start about 400 feet to the north of the Walmart entrance and go out towards the city limits. And also there's the inside lane through that intersection's a little bad too. We got some area there that we want to replace. This is a 90-10 match for KDOT. So basically an application, I'm not even asking for your approval or whatever. We're just letting you know that I'm sending it in. If we do receive this, we will get an agreement from KDOT and then I will bring it back and
Okay.
need it approved then. But it is up towards a $900,000 project.
Mhm.
So you're probably, when it does come back, you'd be committing probably $90,000.
It seems like it's so mushy out there that it's, there's going to be some substantial work done to the
Right.
Foundation or the base of it.
Yes, and Kent's got a lot of that in here too for stabilization and all that
Okay.
stuff, so. Thought about
Yeah,
quite a bit of that.
it's really a mess.
Yes. So.
Okay.
you
So we
have-
don't need a motion for anything on this?
Unless you want me to get a motion to approve me sending it in, we don't need it really, but.
We don't need it to do it all.
This,
Okay,
this is not binding or nothing
Right.
until you get the actual agreement back from KDOT.
okay. So just move forward with the application and.
So, the question I had though, if we move forward with it and they approve it, and for some reason whatever the reason may be, we aren't able to move forward with it, does that hinder future applications, or is that a pretty standard practice?
I would say not. They'll tell you not. I just have to explain to them why.
Okay,
This ain't the first time. I've had other applications like this. We was gonna widen the intersection out there, and we canceled that one time, so.
okay,
And they, they'll come visit with me before they do this and look at the project, and it's gotta be selected.
fair enough, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna hinder future efforts, and that if we were gonna move forward with an application, then you better be ready to go if they give it, but
Yeah.
if we've got that flexibility, I think,
I
to
mean,
see
it's
what
a-
your chances.
90-10 match, that's a pretty good thing, cause
Great.
that covers construction, inspection, and design and everything, so.
Yeah, I don't like missing out on those, I guess they're still our dollars, when we give them to the state gives it back to us, but.
Yeah, but 90s goes to the 10, we gotta come up with.
Yeah, but that 10%, so we don't find out about it until August, September, if we get this.
Yep.
So we'll be doing design work and selecting engineers through the next year. So you'll have a little bit spend in 2020, and then the project will be 2021.
Okay, because we got the other project 2020.
Right,
Yeah.
so, and we'll have the design work for it this year, and then the project will pay for it next year, so. It's we're spreading these out, and I'm kind of watching how the money is, so I don't try to run it over too bad in the CIP.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you ready for the?
So we don't need a motion? Okay,
No.
okay. Any other questions? Okay,
Okay.
proceed.
Let's see. Okay, the Mill and Archer Street Mill and Overlay, Mill and Archer Street from 5th to 11th Mill and Overlay. We received bids on that, and we got them from Hall Brothers and APAC. Hall Brothers was for the amount of $102,020.50. And APAC was for $106,816.10. Very good bids, very close to me. So I was looking at that. I had in the CIP 140,000, so I went out there and I was looking at it. And there's gonna be some patching out there. So these numbers are gonna come up a little bit. I'm guessing around $8,000. But looking at it, I was gonna talk to you about authorizing me up to 25,000 and do the next block from 11th to 12th. And Chuck, I don't know if you've seen the barricades out there, but I got a problem out there. And they talk like they might come in at April 15th, but it might be a little later than that. But it'd be a nice chance to go ahead and add that block. Ken give me an estimate of almost 16,500 on that to do that block.
I like that idea, but I got one question.
Okay?
Because of the disaster we've had in this weather,
Is that a disaster?
is Archer Street, is Archer Street still the street that needs to be worked on? I know that one area would need to at least be patched, but are there other streets right now after the disaster that this money could be switched over to and done, that are worse shape than Archer? And the only reason I bring that up, because boy, since this winter, it's just tore up the streets everywhere.
There is, but you're gonna be jumping these contractor around, and you're gonna be running the cost up a lot more. If you don't do a, like, say a patch over here, that's what you're talking about doing.
No, I'm talking
The whole
about,
street.
instead of doing the whole Archer
The whole
Street,
street.
do another, there's other streets that need it
If you
worse
go-
than Archer right now.
Well, it's the next one on my plan, Olive, but Archer's way worse than it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then Olive, and then I have 9th Street on it, but I was gonna try while while they're doing the mill and overlay, I was gonna try and do a little blade patch on it a little bit to help it out, to make it last a couple, 3 more years.
Well, I
I mean, I've been around all this right now. I've had trash trucks stuck in my alleys, drop out of ruts, and they're tearing them up pretty bad. This moisture's terrible. We're just gonna have to go in there and go around each one, and each one's gonna be an individual case on how it gets taken care of and fix them.
Yeah, 'cause you're gonna have to get
It's-
down to
I
the base
mean-
on some of these. I mean, that's,
What's that?
I said, you're gonna have to get down to the base on some of these. I mean, they're just,
Oh, I know.
it's just a nightmare.
Terrible.
And I got it on, I mean, there's little spots like on 11th Street that I gotta do, and I call them little spots. They might be 6 by 6 or 12 by 12, but some of the alleys I need to be done, and
Now, I know when they came in and redone the gas lines from the, or curbs to the houses, when they did that, was there anything in the contract about doing anything other than just putting the stuff back in the hole and running over it a few times? I think that's had a lot to do with the major parts that I've seen that the alleys have fallen apart. Was there anything in that contract that would help us out as far
There
as?
is. They've got it, they're in our, what's that called? Where we got agreements with the
Easements?
franchise agreements. I think they can pretty much come in here and do what they have to do. I have been in contact with Clayton today, and he's talking to his boss tomorrow, because I told him earlier in the winter, I said, I'd like to see these guys stop, because it's gonna be bad, and we already seen some of it being bad, and they didn't. They was in here in sub-zero weather, putting material back in there. So my reason for his call today was, I says, you guys wanted to move forward with this now, so now you're gonna have to clean out the soft spots and fix these right. And I said, I wanna inspect every one of them holes before they're poured with concrete.
Good.
So either me or Jim Metro is gonna be inspecting them.
Cause I've seen a couple that it's not just where the hole was now,
I
the
know
water's
it's-
come under everything.
Well, it's because the trash trucks are going through there, and, I mean, just a week ago, I was driving through there and my car bottomed out in one of the holes that I dropped in. So last week, he was on vacation, I was calling him, I called 3 or 4 times, so I think he got the hint.
Yeah.
But
I think another issue too that I've heard about is that the work to go in and, you know, that there's the company that goes in and punches the hole, does the work, and then there's another company that comes in afterwards. And the company that comes in afterwards hasn't felt that it was, I mean, that has struggled because it's not the right weather to be patching these
Yeah.
holes.
Correct.
And so then at that point, do I take on this?
Right.
Yeah,
'cause it's
see, and
just-
that's where Clayton needs to talk to his boss, because they need to clean them out and do them right. And that's where I'm fighting with them, I guess, a little bit. And
Don't
I've
get 'em
been
wrong.
contacting.
So back to your question about the extra block between 11th and 12th. You're asking for an approval, you said it's gonna be around 16, but you're asking for approval for another 25, just to-
No, I'm asking for a total of $25,000 extra. With the engineering and the contract the way it is now, the 102,000, and the engineering, I'm at about 115,000, and I budgeted in the CIP 140, but I don't know for sure. Me and Ken talked about it today, and we figured about $8,000 worth of patching on Archer, because there's some soft spots in there they gotta dig out and put base rock back down and put some asphalt in there and then patch them. So I'm asking for that. If it don't come to that, we won't use it. If it goes over a little bit, well, I'll just bite it and do it, but it's just,
I think it needs to be done.
I don't wanna have to
Yeah.
come back to you while
Yeah.
they're in the middle of a project and ask you for $3,000 or $4,000.
And if you're talking about
So-
putting that kind of money in the patch, that's literally the block south of that. You know,
Not just that one. Not just that one. I seen one at 10th Street where we're gonna have to patch. A Street, there's mud coming up through the street right now, so there's gonna have to be a patch there.
Okay.
There's several other patches up and down that street that's gonna have to be done. It's not only that one. Ken
Yeah.
figured about 20 of them.
So you have to do the patch first, and then you have to go through and do the mill and overlay?
No, we go in through, do the mill and overlay, let it break through, and then go dig out, base rock it, patch it, and then overlay. So you end up with a good street.
Good, we need a good street. I think that this winter's taught us a lot. I mean, our streets are rough, and any little crevices are now
Yes.
huge holes.
And that's the worst part, when snow lays on a street and it just melts real
Yeah.
slow, it goes right down in them cracks. Like a rain, you get a 1-inch rain in a couple hours, it runs off
Because I
pretty
know
much.
the streets that we've done, 18th and College, they
Yeah.
look good.
Jim, is it okay if they stop at 12th Street, or are you gonna complain that they didn't go to 13th?
No, but I would answer Sam's question, that, yeah, Archer's the one that needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do we need a
Either that or
motion
get
then
these
for
Jeeps.
$127,000? Is that what you're suggesting?
I would say
up
the
to-
motion would be to approve Hall Brothers contract for $102,020.50, plus authorize Ron to sign up to $25,000 for the extra block of 11th Street, or Archer Street from 11th to 12th,
Okay,
and for the patching,
okay.
All of the above.
all the above.
I go with all the above.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can do that then.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the mill and overlay bid by Hall Brothers for $102,020.50, plus add another $25,000 authorization to cover one extra block plus patching of Archer Street.
Between
Did I
11th
catch
and
it?
12th Street, yeah.
Yeah.
Second.
I have a motion from Christie, a second from Chuck. All in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, Ron.
Yep, good luck, Rob.
Trail lighting contract approval.
Mayor and Commissioners, we're working toward completion of an item that was on the capital improvement list, which was lighting of Heritage Trail. And we had a former Concordia resident, Levon Brousseau, that had left us some money for the purpose of trail lighting. We used some of it, and some of it still remains, about $10,000 still remains. We wrote a grant to the Community Foundation for Cloud County, and we did receive money from the Impact Fund for trail lighting. We received another $10,000 for that. And so then that brings the total to spend out a CIP of about a little over $2,000 for the project, and maybe an additional $1,000 for construction staking as well. And that would allow us to put an additional 5 light poles on the 20th Street spur from the 1 mile loop of Heritage Trail. So from the 21st Street dam down toward 20th Street, adding 5 light pole bases to help illuminate that walkway. Currently, there is not lighting on that leg of the trail. There is lighting around the rest of the 1 mile loop, so this would complete that portion of the project. We are recommending you to approve the contract with Hoods to do this work, and the reason for that is that they did the first leg of the trail, and working around that flood control levee, there are some special requirements. They did a nice job for us in phase 1, so to keep that continuity with them, that they know what they're doing. They also helped us to come to an accurate estimate, we believe is accurate estimate, because they did the work on phase 1 And so we feel confident in their estimate, so we'd like to ask you to authorize the contract with them to be able to move forward with this project and get that leg of the trail lit.
So out of pocket to the city is how much?
$2,065 to finish out the estimate for hoods, plus an estimated additional $1,000 for construction staking, which is the surveying that has to be done to make sure we get the light poles in the right spot,
So about 3,000 something?
out of a $23,000 project.
That's
The
all
rest,
it cost us?
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the proposal for lighting at Heritage Trail from Hood Heating and Air for $22,377?
So moved.
I have a motion from Chuck. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Keaton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Reports, managers' reports.
First, we'd like to start off saying thank you to the Community Foundation for Cloud County. We did write 3 grants here in the last month, and we did receive all 3 of them. We received $500 to help us complete the ambulance child restraint project, and that has now been completed. The $10,000 from the impact fund for the trail lighting project that you just approved. And we also received an additional $3,500 from the Community Foundation for Cloud County to go toward our annual cleanup, our Refresh Concordia. About $2,000 of that is estimated to go toward tire recycling fees. When we go around and we pick up the curbside items, the city incurs the cost of the tire recycling, and it's amounted to about $2,000 for the last several years. We also received the additional $1,500 to help us replace dilapidated trash cans around the pool and tennis court area. So we'll be able to replace 4 trash cans in that area. So we appreciate the contributions from the Community Foundation. We've scheduled times for the neighborhood listening tours. This year we're holding 3 of those. March 26th at noon at the Senior Center, and that one does require an RSVP if you plan to attend, and the cost of lunch is $5.25 to attend there. Then March 26th in the evening at 7 o'clock at Valley Rental Center. Thursday, March 28th at 7 o'clock at the Nazareth Mother House Auditorium. So we appreciate those venues allowing us to come join them. And commissioners, if you haven't already, do let me know if you are able to attend those and would like to attend. All of those sessions are open to the public. People welcome to attend, and just kind of a casual conversation occurring just like last year.
And you said March 26th, March 28th?
Yes, March 26th at noon, Senior Center. March 26th, 7 p.m. at Valley Rental Center. March 28th, 7 p.m. at Nazareth Mother House. Friday, March 29th, beginning at 11:30, we will host our first intergovernmental meeting for the first time in a couple of years. So we are excited to get that going again. We've invited the city, county, college, school district, and Cloud Corp to attend with us. So you are invited again. If you haven't RSVP'd to me for that, do let me know. I know in the past intergovernmental meetings have included governing bodies from our smaller communities within Cloud County. This year we chose to start small and see how the conversation goes, and then we may expand that in the future as the conversation warrants. So that's kind of the plan there. Finally, the annual Chamber of Commerce Annual Dinner and Awards Ceremony has been scheduled for May 4th out at the fairgrounds. Doors will open at 6 p.m. The theme this year is a disco theme, Let's Boogie, so taken back to 1979. If you'd like to attend, do let us know. Spouses welcome, and we'll do tickets for that. If you want to attend as a city representative, I know a lot of you are involved in other organizations that may also attend, but if you want to attend as a city representative, do let me know by April 10th if you could, please. Are there any questions?
1979, Sam and I had already outgrown the disco thing, right, Sam?
That's right. I'm too old for this.
Well, you can try again. So grab your bell bottoms and
60s was
platform
more
shoes the
fun.
goldfish.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Diapers then.
Staff reports? By the way, Ron, if you dig too deep on them streets, Jeremy's gonna be bugging you to go a little farther so he can do some stuff.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I issued a building permit for Dollar Tree a couple days ago, so they
Okay.
expect to be starting. They said in a couple weeks, but the way the moisture is out there, I don't know if they'll be able to do any dirt work or not, but we'll see what happens.
Okay,
I'll be seeing some activity out there soon.
alrighty, thanks.
Just to give you a heads up of something that I think I brought they brought to your attention last fall, a bike share program. We're not doing it, but OCCK has actually acquired grant funding or governmental funding. Special funding for a program like that, so they're gonna be implementing that here, well, I think in the spring and maybe summer area, so you might see some bike racks going on. There's no obligation in the city, besides they asked for a couple of places for bike racks to be installed by the Highway 81 connection bus stops. Two of them in particular, probably one by the college and maybe one by City Hall, one across the street here. Connect those two parts of town.
So they already have bikes out there? I saw some at Walmart chained up to
The college kind of has their own
those black ones.
loosely defined program,
Yeah.
I'd say. These are actually nice, like I probably explained last time, they're GPS monitored. You actually
Yeah.
rent them through
Yeah.
a program.
Yeah.
They're rental bikes then?
Yeah, and they're all trackable. The company will be partnering with OCCK with somebody in town to keep them up to date. If they break down or lost, go get them, whatnot. But so you're gonna be seeing that going on. One thing we might help out with is safety wise, street routes, stuff like that.
Okay.
Something small, but you might be seing that coming up here.
Are we gonna have to
few
mark,
months.
are we gonna have to mark bright bike routes out on our streets and some of the streets?
We've been talking about that. When we've talked about what some other towns have done, we don't really have wide enough streets to
Yeah.
accommodate that.
State
That's a
Street might be
couple.
wide enough. For
But
the
there
college,
are some, we believe we're looking into some other options of
Yeah.
shared roads
Yeah, State
instead
Street's
of actual lanes.
I think State Street's a good one to have marked anyway, because there's no sidewalks on State Street, and all the college kids use that a lot, but, yeah. Good, I've seen the programming in Austin, Texas, they have it all over, and it's, just amazes me, people just leave the bikes anywhere, and they get tracked, and people go get them, and.
Ron's advocating for scooters.
Don't worry, Chuck, these aren't as cool as yours.
So you get a bike like mine, you get best of both worlds.
Other than that, we got summer coming up and registration's out for baseball, softball, t-ball, all that good stuff, and we're ready to go on that. Playground as well, coming up here next month or so, we'll have that out.
Okay.
So, we're having to raise the price a little bit, you know, prices are going up, costs and whatnot, so. From the fact that we've been the lowest cost operator, fee operated program that I've found in north central Kansas. No matter what the size of the town, we were the cheapest.
Okay.
So, but it's getting harder to find umpires for one, and we're gonna have to start paying, so.
I see the college went and took the field. Is the field ready for it?
Took the field.
Didn't they go out and practice on the field, baseball field?
They've been practicing a little bit. I don't know if they've been on the infield yet.
Okay. Just make sure, don't let them get on it and tear it up.
They, yeah, they've done some things. The big field's in better shape than any of the other ones, because they've cleared snow long before, everything else, and they had some bigger tarps to be able to use. So it is in a lot better shape, but this recent rain, they were
Yeah.
pushing back another week.
You know, they got that indoor thing. They can practice there a little bit longer instead of tear up the field, so.
They do what they can, yep.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty, sir. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
Thank you, Chris.
Mayor and Commissioner comments and reports. Sam?
Another good job on the snow, Ron. You did good. Now the hard work, the streets. And good luck.
Time consuming.
Yeah. But again, this tells us, we just got, for our streets, if we get them in shape, it'll be a lot less work after these storms than we have now. Kind of doubled our work, or triple. But good job.
Chuck?
Wanted to acknowledge just the city staff putting out notices, letting folks know that we are very well aware of the condition of the roads. Appreciate kind of that communication. I think that the more proactive we can be in these sorts of situations, the better off we'll be. We do have a lot of work ahead of us, and I think it'll take a considerable amount of time and resources. I do hope that folks continue to have patience with us as we find new routes and ways to try to avoid and you know, again, I think the more we can avoid those potholes, not only the less damage to our vehicles, but we'll hopefully limit the amount of further damage to the damage that's already out there, so appreciate the communication and the effort.
I too want to thank everybody for the snow removal efforts, and great job. And the pothole patching, it's already begun, and I noticed it because I had some big ones down in my neighborhood over on Cedar Street. There's a couple big ones there on right at 9th Street. Deep ones because I hit one of them. But good job on getting out there, because it's not the conditions aren't ideal for it in some areas and some streets yet, and but I think it's pretty amazing how we can get out and assess it and prioritize and get done what we've got to get done the way we need to do it. The intergovernmental meetings, I've had some feedback on that already, that people are glad to see that's happening. And I had some input from some people that were involved in it before, and saying, here's some of the things that worked and here's some of the things that didn't work. And but they're happy to see that those are going on as well. And last thing is, I want to encourage people to contribute to the causes for Nebraska and other flooded areas. I used to live in Columbus, Nebraska, and I have a lot of friends up there, and they've been sending me pictures, and I'm very well familiar with what that area used to look like, and now to see what it looks like right now with all of the major highways heaved up and housing and everything. And so these people need everything, and I was at the hospital today and saw a lot of the stuff that people are bringing in, and one of the things that I didn't really hear about on the news to bring in, but people brought in a lot of pet food, cat food, dog food, and there's probably a need there as well. But I encourage everybody to encourage more people, and I appreciate seeing it in the press that we need to help our neighbors, because God forbid there comes a day when we're going to need their help for something, but I know they'll help if we need it. So that's it for me.
I'd like to echo what Mark said about helping everybody up north. I think that's a great thing. I think it goes till, was it Friday at like 4:30? So I encourage everybody to help out. I know quite a few people that are, me and my family have, so encourage everybody to do that. Thanks to the city for taking care of everything that you guys have. I know you guys' plate is extremely full at this moment, so thank you and your continued thanks. I do want to ask a question. I don't know if anybody can help me out. Do we have an ordinance with where semis can travel through town? Yeah, I mean, as far as, okay, because I've noticed there's been an excessive amount of them on 11th Street, and I don't know if there's anything we need to do to preserve our roads as long as possible, especially now. Is there a way of directing those away from 11th Street? and to make them take the main,
Highway 9.
Go down to 9 on 6th and go out that way. A lot of them have been taking shortcuts.
A lot of that you're gonna find out is gonna be delivery vehicles too. So, and they're gonna have to have a route in there.
Yeah,
I'm having, the trash trucks are the worst thing in my alleys, is what's tearing.
right, right.
11th Street's a pretty good save. I noticed that Gerard's stuff, they all go out on Industrial Road and go out that way.
Right,
So they don't come through town. One get lost once in a while.
yeah.
Brick plant uses that going out there too. That's major truck stuff there, so.
It was just brought to my attention by somebody that lives there off of 11th. There's an awful lot of semi-traffic starting to go through there.
11th and what?
I don't even know what street it is. Down
Is it
across.
West or
Yeah. No, on the east side of town,
east side?
going east. Yeah, they were either heading out to the brick plant or Gerard's. I'm not sure which. And that's what I wondered
Yeah, they should.
if there's a way of putting
across Olive.
putting signage up to maybe deter them around to get them the right way.
This is not your turn.
The entities, out there in industrial park and stuff used to try to inform the truckers to not take 11, but.
Yeah, and I think they're just listening to Tom and whatever the rest of them are that are showing them the way that way. But I don't know if maybe a sign would work, or I don't know what else we may do. But if we can we look into it? Something to. That's all I have.
Yeah, good.
I don't think I have anything to add other than a thanks for the city crews for everything that they did during the snow. And I just hope that it's over with, as I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. Alrighty, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Everybody made a motion to adjourn, no. Chuck made a motion and Keaton seconded. Meeting adjourned.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, all in favor of adjourning? Say aye. Aye, those opposed?